yo, what up, what up, what's good, what's good, what's good? What's good? Shout out to the graveyard shift, shout out to the night shift, you know? Shout out to the boys that's doing Uber Eats and DoorDash. Shout out to you. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of lawsuits coming out at those companies. That's the whole quote unquote share economy. If y'all didn't know, it's me, it's your man, Alpha the First One, the author of the GPS versus SPG Dating Main System Concept. For short, regulated dating versus unregulated dating, or unregulated versus regulated. The YouTube channel is E-Waste Dating Tips by 811, E-Waste Dating Tips by Alpha, or just E-Waste Dating Tips. Find me on Rumble, BitChute, DTube, soon to be Odyssey, and all the other ones. Don't look for me on social media though. See, I'm on content creation sites. Sites that have content such as primarily videos. I'm on those sites. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Snapchat, Discord. I'm not on Locals. I'm not going to be on any of those places because those places, in my opinion, are a waste of time. And so shout out to the newcomers, the old timers, the OGs. Shout out to the trolls. We love the trolls. Please don't hate on the trolls. We love them. And so let me go ahead and get into the game tonight because I don't have any dating news. I haven't done dating news in a while. I don't have any because I think that everybody's kind of running out of trends, They're kind of running out of trends, This month, this trend. This month, that trend. So tonight, we're going to talk about something called the social contract. And it's two parts of it. The social contract has been broken between men and women, and the social contract among men, meaning men have a social contract amongst themselves, that is now being repaired and restored. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right. So how does this pertain to my book? Well, if you didn't know, I wrote a book about dating and mating. Two competing systems in the world. All right. The first system is the natural system, which I can say is God or nature. I call that system GPS. Why I call it that? Check out my videos. I break down what those three letters mean. Quick, genetics, personality, security, resource. All right. So go check out what I mean by that. GPS means what? No regulation. Unregulated. There's no rules and regulation. Do what you want. You got total freedom, baby. Go have at it. And so then when people get tired of doing that, people get tired of the results. What they usually do is start regulating dating and mating. They say, hey, hold on now. We got to stop all this. We don't like all this single mother shit. We don't like all these bastard kids. We don't like all this pump and dumping. We don't like these high body counts. Okay, we're going to start regulating things. We're going to start telling people, men and women, what to do. When you do that, you're going against nature. You're going against Mother Nature's dating system. And you're setting in man's counter, man's intervention. And I call that SPG. Regulated dating and mating. Rules and regulation. No, you do not have full free autonomy. In so many words, the party's over. And so when you have an unregulated system, naturally speaking, one of the primary things that's going to happen with no rules and regulation is the social contract will be destroyed. All right, let's get something easy out the way first. Pop quiz. Is there a social contract between women? Meaning women have a contract amongst themselves? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And if you're looking at the screen, I have multiple e-waste things in there showing y'all some of that nice, lovely e-waste art that I've been building. I got more of those pictures coming. Just take a look at some of it. It's some really pretty stuff, I think. But there is no social contract between women because women naturally do not have respect for one another. That's just the way it is. And this is not me saying this, ask women. What do women always say? I don't trust that bitch. I'm not being around. I don't like being around. I don't trust her around. I don't like her. That's just what women do. That is their nature. That's a part of what? Female nature. It's so funny to me is, everybody now, I think the nation is starting to be red pill in my opinion. I think people are starting to get it. If I could use a percentage, I would say 25% of people are now starting to say, you know what? Women, they don't do things a certain kind of way. See what I'm saying? Because for the last 70 years, they've been on easy mode. I like to call it they've had a social credit card in dating and mating and outside of dating and mating. Look at the student loan debt. Who you think is the majority owner of the student loan debt? That's women. That's them. The country's on the hook for that. And what's the truth about that? Those women ain't never gonna pay that debt off. Ain't gonna happen. They got degrees that ain't never gonna make them a dime. That's just the sad truth. And so a lot of people now are upset over that. A lot of men and women are both upset over that. They're saying, my God, look at this situation. So that kind of goes into the social contract that women don't have with each other. It was women that told women it's okay to go get debt and go to school and do all that stuff. It was women that told women it's okay to be a non-virgin bride and then try to go get married. That's what they fought for. See, when I tell people that, they always get upset over me. Why you gotta say it like that? I don't like the way you frame that question or that statement. And I'm saying, well, your type of logic is what's called you like sugar on shit. You like sugar on shit. So you the kind of person that want me to put some sugar on top of some dog crap and give it to you and say, there it is. Is that better now? Does it make you feel better that I put sugar on top of dog crap? Now will you eat it? That's that logic there. I don't like the way you frame it. What else kind of way can I frame it? That's what they fought for. They didn't want to be virgin brides anymore. They wanted to do what? Have sex like a man. And so that entire message came from women. It's so funny. I was on a podcast and I was talking to this one guy. And he was trying to find a way to blame men for the sexual revolution. I mean, this guy was doing backflips and pandering and running in circles, trying to blame it on men. And I said, dude, you can't argue with history. That's like me saying the man with the weird mustache was not the man that started World War One. You see what I'm saying? The weird mustache man. I'm not going to say his name. He's the one that did it from that country called Germany. He's the one that did it. You can't argue against that unless you just want to be disingenuous and just tell lies. And that's what I told him. I said, either you want to be just disingenuous or you just want to tell lies. I say historical fact. You cannot deny women led the sexual revolution. This is a I even gave him a work site. I gave him PBS. Damn. The public broadcast station. And guess what? He spoke against it. I'm like, dude, even though I don't agree with the government using PBS, because they're very slanted. They're very slanted. But not to get on that rabbit hole, they're slanted towards what? The left. The liberal side, and even they had to say women led the sexual revolution. He tried to bring up Hugh Hefner, and everyone loves to bring up Hugh Hefner because he did play a part in certain parts of it, but Hugh Hefner did not lead, start, or quote unquote funded the entire sexual revolution. He didn't do it. He definitely benefited from it. No one's never denied that, but he's not the leader. He wasn't the leader. He tried to make Hefner the leader. Like, no. Hugh Hefner was an opportunistic man. He took the opportunity. That's how he built this Playboy empire. See? So the social contract that was between women never existed because women naturally don't look out for other women's best interests. They just don't. Women will tell women some of the worst information in the world on purpose to do what? Sabotage other women. Yeah, girl, you look good at 260 pounds, 5'4". There's nothing wrong with you. That's them shaming you. You have body positivity. That's women doing that to other women. See? Women don't have that for other women. They just don't. And if y'all hearing that, I'm turning on my heater. You know me, I got to stay warm. So the social contract between women never existed. So we can get that one out the way first. That's easy. There is no social contract. Women and women do not have social contract amongst themselves. Intergender or intersexual, meaning inside the same sex, women and women do not have a social contract. It's just not in their nature. That's something that everybody pretty much now don't give me a lot of pushback on when I say that. They don't like it because, once again, we don't like hearing the truth. We want sugar on dog crap. But it's the truth. So now let's look at the social contract between men and women. Alright, so we did women and women. We know that contract never existed. Feminism never created it. It destroyed what little that they did have, but feminism made it completely unavailable now. I mean, look at the situation with the rainbow people. You see what I'm saying? You got women on both sides. I mean, it's unbelievable, and I don't want to get into that. Last time I talked about that, they took my channel down. So I don't talk about those folks. And always remember, the people you can't criticize, I'll leave it at that. Alright? So essentially, the social contract between men and women, that was destroyed after the sexual revolution. Now, if you look at it from my book, under the no regulation, which is GPS, no rules and regulations, there is no social contract. That's what we're under right now. That's why we don't have one. See, in order for men and women to have a social contract amongst one another in terms of dating and mating, strictly dating and mating, you have to have rules and regulations. There's no way around it. Alright, because women are going to do things that's going to be advantageous and detrimental, and men are going to do things that are advantageous and detrimental. Both sides will do that. I will acknowledge that. And so since both sides is going to do, quote unquote, in ghetto terms, go for theirs, this social contract is going to be destroyed because there's no rules and regulations. So that was after the sex. Before the sexual revolution, we had rules and regulations. And according to my book, that's an SPG. We did have an SPG, a rules and regulated dating system, but that got destroyed after the sexual revolution. So right now, there is no social contract between men and women. There is none. There's only 3 things men can't do and women can't do, because now we have women getting convicted of these things. And what is that? You can't grape. You can't physically force yourself with someone. We have women doing that now. Yes. We have several cases of women doing that. It's undeniable now. The panda bears can't even look over it. I think there was a lady in Louisiana, my home state, Shout out to Louisiana. Shout out to NOLA. My great old lovely state of Louisiana, my home state. I don't live there now. I live in Southern California. But I'm born and raised in New Orleans. Born and raised. All right? And if you get me drunk enough, I'll sound like it, okay? A lot of people say they can hear it when I talk. Because they can say, man, you sound like you Southern. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, I'm from the South, man. I'm from New Orleans. And they'll say, oh, that's why it sounds a little bit different, you know? But in New Orleans, there's a lady in Louisiana who's a mayor. She just got convicted. And she literally, she physically raped I think it was a 14 or 15-year-old boy. Teenager, yeah. Mayor. This is a former mayor. Mayor. M-A-Y-O-R. Mayor. Yeah. She did it as a mayor. She was a mayor and literally physically raped a teenage boy. And that's not uncommon now. We're hearing more and more stories about that. And the panda bears, they just don't want to acknowledge it. Well, it ain't that much. It's insignificant. The bottom line is one grape is too many. Whether it's a man or woman. We all agree to that. That's what feminism say. But when you're talking about women, we'll get to that. So the social contract, there is none between men and women. We just have 3 basic rules, which is you don't grape somebody by force. You can't roofie, date grape, roofie. The most common is the roofie. Or if you get someone inebriated, meaning totally intoxicated on whatever they take, mushrooms, weed, alcohol. All right, if that person literally was unconscious and you jump on them, you can be liable for grape. All right, personally, me, I don't like to be around women when they're high and drunk. I just don't. I find it I think that's kind of hate. I think that's kind of causing me to have problems nowadays because I'm in Southern California. And unfortunately, I'm a very big man. I'm 6'6", 240 solid. I have a 4-pack. I don't have a big gut. You know what I'm saying? I got big thighs, big buttocks. I got broad shoulders. And sometimes when I walk around, I just have what's called a military face because I was in the military. I could be feeling great inside, but you know, Uncle Sam, he pretty much beats an ugly face on you, you know. And I think I am kind of I think a lot of women are intimidated by me in Southern California. I could kind of tell that. I kind of got that vibe because a girl the other day was trying to like talk to me, and she was like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. I feel great." And she was like, "Why are you looking like that?" I was like, "Oh, I was in the military." She's like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." She's like, "Y'all always look like that." And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I noticed that about y'all. Y'all always have that look. And I think the look that I have, that military look and my physique, is not doing me well out here. It's really not. California girls are very, very socially flimsy in my opinion. I mean, out here, they like to hang out with guys. And I wasn't raised like that. In the South, we don't do that. We don't just hang around with girls all day and cackle and shoot the shit and play video games. It doesn't happen. Where I'm from, New Orleans, when you bring girls around that's not your family member, and y'all bringing out alcohol and weed or whatever else, somebody gonna fuck. Somebody gonna get bent over. It's just the way it goes. And out here, the California guys, because I asked them that, I said, I said, is it really, it seems like y'all kind of hang out with women. And they was like, oh, yeah, man, we do that out here, we do that out here. And I was like, that's kind of hurting me, And that's kind of what goes into that whole date grape stuff, meaning, I don't like women to be inebriated when they're with me. I really don't. I find it distasteful. Almost every woman I've been with, I can't say all, but almost every woman I've been with, they were sober. And the ones that were not, I didn't get them drunk. I didn't do it. I didn't buy them a drink. I didn't buy them no weed. I didn't buy them anything. Either they came pre lit, as we say down south, or I met them in the club and they was already. You see what I'm saying? I never. I ain't never really got drunk with a woman. I'm serious. I've never even got like drunk. Like me and her sit down and drink and we got. I've never done that with a woman ever. I ain't ashamed to say it. Every woman I've ever slept with, if I was drinking, it was before I met her. Does that make sense? And it was never me to the point where I blacked out. I don't. I'm not that kind of drinker. I can't do that shit. You know. And I've never gotten a girl drunk, and I've never touched a girl who was completely. I find that really, really. That is like really unattractive to me. Really unattractive. I don't know why. I just whenever I go out and I see girls throwing up in alleys and falling all over themselves, I don't care how fine the girl look, my stomach turns. You know what I'm saying? Like I get like, damn, she look good, but ugh. You know, I just see a dirty woman. You know what I'm saying? I just see, I don't know what it is. I don't have that. You know, some men, that's some men. I personally, like when a girl is talking, you know how to, yeah, hey. And I smile it off, you know what I'm saying? But I be like, get the fuck off of me. I'm just not like that. I like to dominate women. I love the thrill of taking a sober-minded woman and getting her to be fully submissive to me. I love that shit. I love to dominate a woman like a male lion. See how them female lions are? They're totally sober, but when they want to fuck, they completely bend on their back, get on their belly, and they give them all what they want. So that's the second thing you can't do. I got on a tangent, but I want to say that the second thing, date grape. I don't support that, fellas. If you're into getting high with women or getting drunk with women on this channel, I would recommend you stop doing that. I don't support that at all. If a woman comes pre-lit or pre-drunk, so be it. You know, but even then, I would measure what state she's in. I personally, I don't. A woman could have been stone drunk if she was with me. I would have never known. That means she really knows how to hold her liquor. I ain't never, God forbid. I've heard guys told me they had sex with women, and the girl was so drunk the woman would throw up in the middle of sex. I'm like, ugh. You know, some dudes, man. I personally, that's just not me. All right, so you can't grape somebody, and you can't date grape. And the last one is pretty obvious. They got to be of age. All right, and y'all know I personally I see children as what they are. They're children. I find it detestable for even a man or a woman to look at a child and even think that. That shit is. I met a guy when I was in the military. He was a sergeant. I was at Fort Bragg, and he was a mechanic. And this is no hate on the mechanic. Shout out to the 63 Bravos out there. But this guy, man, I didn't know it. You know what I mean? I'm always running into crazy shit. I didn't know it, but I had to do something. I had to. He was on house arrest. He was on barracks, you know, and at that time the barracks. He was on. You know, he was on. He had to stay on. He had to stay on base. He couldn't leave base. You know, he was under Article 15, all that stuff. And I had to go check on his room because I was a sergeant at the time, and I had to make sure that he was in his room at certain times. And I was like, why I gotta do this shit? And everybody told me, they said, oh, he did something. You know, he did something with a kid. And I was like, what? And I went to his room, and I didn't believe it because I was like, man, somebody might be spreading rumors on this guy. Let me make sure. And I went to his room, and I was like, hey, sergeant, because he was still a sergeant at the time. He had not gotten demoted yet. You know, he was getting chaptered out. And I said, sergeant, I said, hey, man, hey, Sarge, you know, somebody told me you did something. You know, some kid shit, man. I said, man, no, what's up with that? He said, well, you know, the child, you know, he was just trying to tell me. And I was like, And I actually kind of went into Charlie Brown mode because when he started explaining it, and he was like, yep, they kind of wanted me to do it, and I was like, what? And I just blanked out, man. I just blanked out, and I had to pull myself back because my blood was starting to get hot. I wanted to do something to this dude, but I couldn't. I had to keep my military bearing. And I kind of was blanking out as he was talking because I looked him in his eyes and I knew he was telling the truth. I was like, this dude really is a pedo. So I told him, well, look, you need to get in your room, man. Next time I come here, make sure you in here or I'm going to report you. And if I find you outside, I'm putting you down myself. My whole demeanor changed with him because I had to confirm it. I don't like to go by people's rumors. So the last one is just something that I'm not with. I'm not with that. If they're under 18, I don't support that. As long as they're 18 years old, I don't care. Do what you want with them. They're a full grown adult. They can die for this country. I don't give a shit. But stay away from minors. I don't support that on this channel. Alright? But outside of those three things, there is no social contract between men and women. There is none. And that's the nature of the system we're under. There's no rules and regulation. It's just that simple. And so the last social contract that we got to look at is the contract between men. Alright? Is there a social contract between men? And on this day, absolutely yes. That is the positive information that I want to tell y'all on this video. See, after the sexual revolution, right, the social contract between men literally got destroyed. And how did they do that? It happened because once you take the rules and regulations of dating and mating, the women are naturally going to divide the men. That's just the way it's going to happen. The women are going to say, okay, we're going to gravitate towards these kind of men, right? And then we're going to go to these kind of men. And then for these men, we're going to give them nothing. So naturally, you're going to have a stratification of three types of men. They're going to gravitate towards the men they want. They're going to go to the men that they really don't want to be cleanup men. And the men that they absolutely don't want nothing to do with, they're not even going to touch them. That would be quote unquote your Duracell type men. Cell, keyword cell type men. And that dynamic happened after the sexual revolution. Alright? Now, that dynamic was going on until what? Until what? Shout out to the late, great Alan Roger Curry. Alan Roger Curry talked about this where he said the stratification of men happened after the sexual revolution. But then the men started talking amongst each other. The top men, the middle men, and the bottom men all came together. And they started talking because the stories that the women were saying kept showing up. And what was the story? Those evil top guys did something to me. They told that to the quote-unquote backup men. And the backup men bought it. See what I'm saying? The backup men bought that story. And then once the backup man bought that story, those women would go cry and complain to the men that they really didn't want, meaning the bottom men. They didn't give him nothing but just complaints. So she gave the top man all of the cookies, as they say. She gave the second man leftovers, and the bottom man got nothing but complaints. See, so all three men was hearing different stories from one woman. See, and what happened was the top men and the bottom men, right? Or really, it was the cleanup men, the second men, and the bottom men, meaning the middle men and the bottom men came together first. Because the middle men and the bottom men said something ain't right, man. The bottom men said, yeah, I'm not getting nothing. And she's telling me how bad, quote unquote, the top man treat her. And then the second man said, yeah, they telling me how bad, quote unquote, how bad he treat her. Right? But then she treated me bad, even though I took her after he treated her bad. See, that's what messed up. See, the women would go to the middleman and say, hey, this top man, the alpha man, he treated me so bad. So won't you take me in? Essentially, that's what she said. And the second man would do that. He would do what? He would become a cleanup man. But then she cheated on him. She cuckolded him. She dogged him out. She put him in sexless marriages. She made him think that the more favors he did for her, the more vacations he took her on, the more time he sat back and say he listened or do house chore duties, that the treatment would get better, but it did not. It got worse. So the cleanup men and the bottom men, the men who didn't get nothing, the Duracell men, they started talking. And then those two men went to the top men and they said, hey man, we got to talk to you. This girl keeps saying you did all this stuff to her. And the top man had to clear his name. He had to say, hey, wait a minute, fellas. I didn't think that girl, I didn't force that girl to do anything. She wanted to do that stuff. At first, they didn't believe it. No, you must have manipulated her. You must have tricked her. And the top man said, wait a minute, tricked her? If I tricked her and manipulated her, I would be sitting in prison right now. That's when the light bulb went off. And they say, you know what, you're right. And then the top man says, see, how many of these women are saying the same thing to both of you? Don't you see the pattern there? All these women are trying to blame it on me or the small few of us. They telling y'all this stuff, but what do they do when they get with y'all? See, and that's the key right there. That's where the women messed up. Because if they had left the top man and went to the cleanup man and treated him good, then it would have worked. It would have worked because they would have got away with it. They would have said, see, I was trying to treat the top man like this, but he treated me bad, so I'm treating you good because you treated me good. See what I'm saying? That worked. That would have worked, but that's not what happened. They went to the cleanup man and still treated him bad. You get it? They treated him even worse. They treated that man like he was the lowest man on the pole, even though he took her in. See, now the lowest man on the pole, the bottom man knew that the second guy wasn't the second guy. He wasn't the bottom because he still got her. See what I'm saying? So the number one man got the best days out of her. The number two man got to clean up the mess. And the number three man, he never got nothing from her. And the number two man, he's the guy that got the worst deal because he got to do what? He got to clean up the mess. See, he got to pay off the student loan debt, the credit card debt. See, he got to pay for all the girls gone wild days. And on top of all that, what thanks did she give him? She still put him in sexless marriages. She still cheated on him. And we now know, thank God for 23 and me and DNA test, we know she cuckolded him. Paternity fraud. That's what she did. So the three men had to rebuild the social contract that was destroyed after the sexual revolution. And them rebuilding that is what's called what now? The manosphere. Shout out to Alan Roger Curry. That's what he talked about when he said those three types of men started talking, and what came out of that was the manosphere. As y'all know, I'm not in the manosphere. I'm not in the red pill space. I'm not in any of those spaces. All right? But I'm not stupid enough and naive enough, and I'm not weak enough to say that the manosphere has rebuilt the social contract between men. That is why everybody is upset at the manosphere. That is why everybody's doing these documentaries against the manosphere. The manosphere has repaired and restored the social contract between men, and I love it. I don't agree with every content creator that comes out of the manosphere. I'm saying that right now. I will not single anyone out. I try my best not to single out anyone that I disagree with because I just want to show them common courtesy. Unless they saying something that's complete fucking bullshit. But I have disagreements with content creators in the manosphere. But as I've said several times on this channel, overall, I give the manosphere 2 thumbs up. I do. I'm not ashamed to say it. And a lot of men are now doing that. They're not ashamed to say it. Because now they know the manosphere is powerful, it's spreading, it's growing, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Boom! It is repairing the social contract that was destroyed after the sexual revolution. That is a bad deal for quote unquote modern women. It's a great deal for society. Because the reality, it is men that build, create, protect, secure, provide, and ensure that society goes on. But when men can't agree with one another, that's when society starts breaking down. And the first thing men say is what? What am I getting out of it? What's in it for me? Well, for the last 70 years, it ain't been a whole lot. Okay, for all men. It's been a lot for some men, but not for all men. Alright? And a lot of men been getting bad deals. Go check out my video. I dropped it called There's No More Cleanup Men. The cleanup men have left the building. They done. See, the number 3 man, he never got nothing anyway. So he was already out. The number 2 man is now saying, I'm out. I'm not cleaning up this mess. And we already know the number 1 man don't give a shit. He ain't gonna never clean up. He was never gonna clean it up anyway. So now that social contract is being repaired amongst the men. Because now they're not blaming. See, I talk about something in my book called the slut void. The slut void. V-O-I-D. The slut void is a space in society where the woman who chooses to be a slut can present herself as a good girl. What is a good girl? A virgin bride. If a woman is not a virgin bride, she cannot be a trad-based conservative good girl. That's impossible. So the slut void is literally a space in society where the woman who wants to be a slut can present herself, keyword, present herself to the men and society as a whole as a good girl. She knows how to talk like it, look like it, walk like it, but she's not a good girl. Do you get it? She's not. And she can operate just like who? A prostitute. Do you get it? She can operate just like a prostitute. But she does it how? Secretly. See, she doesn't face the same social penalty that a prostitute faces. See, a prostitute is an honest woman. It's up front. Purse first, ass last. Oldest profession in the world. See? But there's a cost that comes with everything. And the prostitute, she gets the social costs. Sometimes legal, and I don't agree with the legal. That's awful. We should legalize that today. I've said that 100 times. I've said sex workers is a part of the solution. They're not a part of the problem. I'll talk about that in another video. So for the last 70 years, the sex worker has endured and bared what? The social penalty of being a prostitute, and in many horrible cases, the legal penalty of being a prostitute. And we're not talking about forced human trafficking. We're not talking about that. We're talking about women who want to be sex workers. There are millions of women who want to be a sex worker, and I have no problem with that. That's what they want to do. They're not being forced into it. They're not being coerced into it. They really want to be sex workers. See, that's the problem I have with our society. We just cannot accept what? We can't accept female nature. We say we support women, but when women do certain things, we can't accept that that's what women will do. See, that goes back to what I said. What you're seeing right now is the results of women having what? Total free sexual agency. These are the results. But people can't accept that. So, the slut void is literally a space in society where the slut can present herself as a good girl. I'm a good girl, see? You don't know my body count, but I talk and dress like a good girl. Oh yeah, I'll go to church like a good girl. We heard about that situation. I'll even go on TV and lie and say I'm a good girl. Why? Because you don't know my body count. You don't know what I've done. And then I'll blame everything on who? The OnlyFans girls. It's them. It's the OnlyFans girls. They're the reason why dating is messed up. See? It's the porn stars. They're the one that's doing it. See what's going on? And yet it was the slut that's causing the high divorce rate right now. Is the slut that's filing for 70% of the divorces right now. It is the slut that's having what? The children out of wedlock. See what I'm saying? But that's the slut void. See, that's why she has to destroy the social contract between men and women. That's the point. And she has to manipulate the men to destroy what? The social contract amongst men. She knows there's no social contract amongst women. There just isn't. But she absolutely have to destroy the social contract between men and women. And she needs the men to be fighting each other to destroy the social contract amongst men. Well, that's not happening anymore. The men are repairing the social contract. As they repair the social contract amongst men, that closes the slut void. The slut void becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until it won't exist. The only way to end the slut void is to have what? Full regulation. So we don't have regulation. We don't. But as men come together, that makes what? The slut void gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It won't go completely away because in order to eliminate it, you got to have full-fledged regulation. All right? But as long as the men end the division amongst men, it becomes harder and harder for the slut to do what? Sell the bad deal. That's why you're hearing Where are all the good men? That's why you're hearing why men ain't showing up to singles events. That's why you're hearing why are men asking what's in it for them. That's why the panda bears are going into overtime. All these elements that's been allowing the social contract to stay destroyed are being thrown out, and the social contract is being rebuilt amongst men. The social contract is coming back. And it's a good thing. As more men start understanding female nature, the more they won't point fingers at other men, they will pointing at what? At what women are doing. See, the number one thing that the lesser man, and I'm not talking about the man on bottom, I'm talking about the full-blown simp. You have simps that are number ones, number twos, and number threes. Alright? The full-blown simp, one thing he cannot do is what? He cannot hold the woman accountable. He will always try to find a way to turn it on the man. That mayor that just did what she did in Louisiana, a man who has a strong backbone gonna say it's wrong that woman did that, and she need to face the law and be punished to the highest severity of the law allows. A simp, a hyena male, he gonna say, well, the reason why she did it is because there was the men that was around her didn't have enough to tell her what to do. And if those men was around, they could have told her not to touch that 16-year-old boy, because somehow they was insecure and they didn't realize that they had to go to another level of emotional intelligence to get that woman to not touch that boy. Don't you see what I'm saying? Man, you just can't get it. Everything I said is what the simp was saying. You know that's what? Complete fucking bullshit. Complete crap. But that's what they do. So the social contract amongst men is starting to be rebuilt and repaired, and it's closing the slut void. Is putting pressure on the panda bears and hyena males who want to simp for women. And it's causing the women who want to be sluts to where now I'm even hearing stories of the prostitutes are telling the sluts, hey, you've been fucking up. I'm hearing those stories now. I'm hearing prostitutes telling the sluts, it's not our fault that the dating problem is messed up. It's because of you. And that is absolutely true, because one of the goals that they did, what feminism did, is they told what? They told women it's better to be what? A non-virgin bride. It's better to be a non-virgin bride that's not labeled as a prostitute. See what I'm saying? You see how that works? You already a non-virgin. You're going to do everything that a prostitute do, but you're not going to face the social penalty. I.e., we're going to turn y'all all into sluts. That's where we are now. It's deep. It is deep. So to kind of bring this to a close and to kind of keep it short, essentially the men have now come together. And the men have said, we're not going to fight each other no more. We're not going to shame men into taking bad deals. We're not going to shame men into being cleanup men. We're not even going to shame men for being Duracell batteries. Shout out to the Duracells. All right? We understand what's going on. We understand that there's no rules and regulations. And that if we come together first and understand what the problem is, we might can do the solution. Don't hold your breath for it. I want to make that very clear. I'm not telling you tomorrow that men are going to start regulating dating and mating. I'm not saying that. But on this day, we can say they are repairing the social contract amongst men. And that is progress. All right, y'all. Let me get out of here. I had to keep it short for y'all. This has been Alpha the First One. The YouTube channel is E-Ways Dating Tip. This has been the social contract. We talked about the social contract that does not exist between women. We talked about the social contract that's been destroyed between men and women. Why? Because there's no rules and regulation. And we talked about how the social contract has now been repaired amongst men. As more and more men wake up, that contract gets stronger and stronger. And yes, we are moving on the road towards what? Regulation. Just don't hold your breath, because it ain't happening today. Regulation is the solution, but it also is the problem. Y'all know that. I've already did a video on that. Go check it out. So don't hold your breath, but the men are coming together. And usually history says what? When more men get on cold with one another, that's a bad deal for the slut. Okay? All right, y'all. I'm out of here. Shout out to everybody out there. Shout out to the graveyard shift. Shout out to the trolls. And everybody I forgot,